Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. All right. Hattie, good evening to you. It looks like we had a sizable retracement here during the lunch hour. Well, actually, most of the retracement happened just before the lunch hour. Lunch hour actually has been doing some rebuilding, moving back towards the opening range high that we were looking at around 11 o'clock. We managed to push above, but we were not able to close above. So then we saw the big retracement following that. Let me just look and see what type of retracement we actually received. On the most recent leg up, we got about an 88% retracement. If we take it from the 10 a.m. low, we're still looking at a 70.8% exactly down to the 830 low. I'm sorry, the 830 open. I had a feeling that today was going to be something similar to this, where we would just play in a range, especially since this new week opening gap, which are the two orange lines. We've been trading in between the orange all afternoon. I'm sorry, all morning. Even as we pushed above once, twice, three times. And now the fourth time we've traded into the new week opening gap and then traded above. But the fact that it continues to remain a magnet for price leads me to believe we're gonna sit in this range. So we'll see what we get today. We'll play it by ear. We'll take the first hour, reevaluate, and see whether we feel like whether I feel like the afternoon is going to be fruitful or not, or whether we should just lock it up until next week after such an eventful week. But we'll give it another hour and see. First things first, we got the opening range high here. Let's see if we can trade above it and close on the 5 minute. Go ahead and drag over this 15-minute fair value gap here just because it hasn't been invalidated yet. So I think we're in a 1 hour bullish breaker. Um, tell me why you feel that, and then I'll let you know what I think. Which candles are you using to for that analysis? We're above the opening range high now. See if we can close in the next 2 minutes above. Right. So let me test this. So Scott says a sweep of liquidity from Wednesday's low. Let's go on Wednesday's low. Okay, so which candles are you using as your breaker, Scott? I think I have an idea which ones you're using. I just want to make sure that I'm not putting any words into your mouth. Yep. Yeah, Loot. It is. It's definitely not clear which direction price is moving. All signs are pointing towards bullish prices because we are. If you see that our swing lows are being protected, we're not trading below our lows. And so we have one. Then we have a second one. Then we have a third one, and then we have a fourth one. So from 8:30 this morning, lows are still being held, still being protected. We now got to trade above the opening range high and a closure. So we feel a little bit more comfortable that we are moving higher and we're bullish. That London high at 651 is within striking distance. Yep. I think it would be the 8 and 9 candles on Wednesday. Yep. So that's what I looked at as according to your analysis, Scott. That is what I was seeing. It's going to be these two candles right here. Um, just keep in mind if that's your breaker, right? You can use these two as your bullish breaker. Just keep in mind that your breaker, you also have to account for the manipulation portion of the breaker. So your breaker is going to be, it's going to look like this. You're going to start at this low to this high. You're going to swing all the way down here. And then your confirmation of this breaker is over here. Looks like 7 p.m. yesterday, 1900 on Thursday. Right. And then you got to trade back into the range for a higher price. Then trade back into range a second time. And now we're looking to see if we can eclipse and make an even higher high. Um, so it's fine that you use that as a breaker. But like I say, just the breaker is, I mean, you have to account for this entire range. So price could drop all the way down here and your breaker still valid. It's not really off the table until price breaks below here. So that's a large range to still be holding on to a bullish sentiment. So you're not wrong in using that as your breaker. I just, from usually when I'm looking at it, I usually wouldn't use that one. If I was going for a bullish breaker, I like for them to form towards the bottom of the range, the lower end. And if I'm looking for a bearish breaker, I'm looking for it to form at the top end of the range. In this case, you're getting a bullish breaker at the top end of the range. So it doesn't make it invalid. It just makes it a little more tricky. But you're right. If you had covered up these two candles, you just make it, I'll make it an orange color just for illustration purposes. Right, so this would have been your spot. You traded back into it here at 555. Median point is at 470. The lower end is at 386. So the breaker is about 170 points or so. So if this was in fact your breaker, what you would have wanted to do is you would have used this as sort of your trade idea, where this would have given you an indication of where to look. And then you would have wanted to drop down to the 5 minute or 3 minute, 1 minute, something much smaller than an hour. And you want to find another breaker inside of here so you know exactly where to get in, because 170 points is a large range. But no, spot on, Scott. Range high, we don't need that anymore. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this new week opening gap as well, just so we have a cleaner picture here. All right, so now we've on the market maker model that we looked at earlier, we've just passed the second point, which would have been right here at 18,598 or 18,600. So we'll see if we get another retracement prior to the London high or if it just pushes to the London high. Yep. See you into the 1 minute setup. 10:50. Yeah, you're right about that, Ray. It definitely gave good 60, 70 handles there. Sure, anybody would have been happy to take that trade. I appreciate you either way, Laughter. Either way, I appreciate it. Yep. All right, Queen, you enjoy your weekend as well. I'll catch you next week. Okay, so if we take the entire leg from The low this morning, set right on 62% from the high from the high during lunch. We now pull the high that we have now. It's now sitting right at 70.8% in the sweet spot of optimal trade entry. Let's go ahead and I don't expect price to retrace this far down, but yeah, that's where optimal trade entry would be. But yeah, coming out of lunch, this is where we were. 62% retracement, barely tap optimal trade entry, hit the 8:30 open, and then from there we've now pushed up 175 handles, 1220. Yep. Go back up 15 so we can see a bit more of the chart. Grab the London high before 130. And it did. All right, first thing it did was take the lunch high, so it's already liquidity taken. Yep, 1230 to 130. We had a 1 hour, 200 handle expansion leg right here. All right, Laughter, take care. Have a good weekend. know the feeling. I used to do that too. For whatever reason, I don't know what it was, but I always lost my first trade of the day. I don't know why that was, but I would always start out in a hole and I would spend the rest of the day digging myself out and then returning to profitability later in the afternoon. But then it ended up taking so much mental capacity that I had to slow myself down. That's one of the reasons why I started these live streams, is because it kept me out of wanting to trade so eagerly in the morning that I would do something or fail to recognize something that always led me to a losing trade. So I know the feeling. Yes, sir. You're spot on with that loot, that last comment you just made, which is another reason why I'm looking at this afternoon and wondering when I'm going to call it, because there's no need to take it all the way to the end, just hoping that something happens, looking for an entry. It's like if price isn't moving the way that I want it to, or if it's not, or if it's done expanding and it's just going to trade back and forth, then for me, it's worth it to just pick another session. But I like what just happened. I like the expansion we got from the 1230 to 130 time period. But that is where I had price going. I thought that it would either pull the London high or get caught up in this bearish breaker here. So I thought one of those two things would happen. And that was as far as I saw price going, and didn't want to put any pressure on price to go further, especially with it being Friday and no news today. Guess we can get rid of that. Let me remove this as well. Jerry, how do you trade consolidation? Well, generally, you identify first. You have to identify the range that it's in, and you're going to want to trade that range. Be careful with looking for long-term targets, just because breaking out of the range isn't high probability. So that's what I would do. Is I would pick short-term targets first. Like I say, identify the range, see that it's taking highs and lows, and so you just trade it that way. And if you look here on the hour, you can see that you had a high, sweep of a low here, traded lower. Then this high was swept when this candle pushed higher. This low right here was swept on the way down. And now this high is swept back on the way up. So you can see that liquidity is being pulled on both sides. So first it's trading in the range to create liquidity on both sides, and then it's taking liquidity from both sides. So you just have to recognize that, identify your targets. So we had already identified the London high as where we thought price was going to go. So even when it was here, price could have traded up there, but the fact that it didn't, and we started to see it break down, then you start looking for a reversal at some point after liquidity is taken to run back up to those London highs. Now that it's achieved the London high, up next would be the fair value gap above, or if it wants to stay in the range, we can trade back down. We can come back and retest these levels that it just traded above. But with all that being said, I mean, we do want to keep in mind that this is Friday afternoon. So we want to pay attention to the weekly candle. We want to pay attention to the daily candle and see where we think those targets are. And we think it's been met. See if we can trade back down to that 598 level. This breaker from last week, it looks like last Friday. Bearish breaker from last Friday, which appears to still be relevant now that we're back in that same area. See, we kind of brushed into it this morning at 4 o'clock. Cent price lower to what we saw in the opening this morning. And now we're back into the same place. I believe I found this on the 5-minute. time frame. $5.98 was that swing high that we passed prior to taking the London high. So that's where I was looking for price to retrace to. However, we do have another swing high, $5.79 here. And once we traded through it on impulse, we haven't returned to it. So I'm just looking to see if price wants to trade back just to retest the level. All right, there's the first level at 598. Once it pushes up and grabs this 617 before going lower. Okay, so you take the hour fair value gap and you take the consequent encroachment of that, and that's your short area. Okay. Yeah, just above where we are. So all three indices took those highs when we saw the London high being taken by Nasdaq. All three indices took the London high at that moment. The Dow and S&P both have significant sized fair value gaps on the hourly above that is holding price. Now we don't have that on Nasdaq, but the other two do. So that could be why price is being held here. Now we don't have an hourly fair value gap, but we do have this bearish breaker from last Friday, which is about the same size. All right, in 30 seconds, we'll be at 2 o'clock. Let's see if price then wants to trade into this fair value gap as a silver bullet entry. And then we see lower prices from there. Yeah, El Jefe. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Maybe we'll get there. Let's measure this most recent leg here. See what this retracement looks like. All right, so we've got a 38% so far. Still looking for it to get down to the 580 level. Um, LOL gamer, not often. We might go up higher, but it's Friday afternoon and we've been pretty much ranging all day for the last 24 hours. If you look back at the hourly, you can go back to yesterday at lunchtime and look at where we are now. And prices pretty much stayed in the same tight little range. So I'm not overly optimistic about what the next 2 hours are going to bring. Um, yeah, I think if you're going to take trades this afternoon, you probably want to keep it local. You want to look for anywhere from 20 to 50 handles as a target, but expecting it to run up. That could happen, but I don't see it as being a high probability. Mhm. rid of this. We're back on the 5-minute. Let's see, get an inverse here. Oh, Vivian, I didn't even think about a TGIF. Let me look. I haven't thought about a TGIF in better part of a month. Let me take a peek. See where we are. Okay, so this is our weekly high, what we just got at 130. All right, so yeah, let's look and see if we can get that. Let's see what 20% will be. Hey, so if we do get a push to the downside, yeah, we can look at around 410 or 406 as a potential landing spot. Okay, so we did get down to what I mentioned, 580. So we've now retested that level as well. Let's go ahead and drop our time frames and see if we got anything that we can use as a breaker. Okay, let's do this. We already have the larger one up top that price is already traded into, but if you're looking for a secondary one on a lower time frame, All right, so we can just use this opening range low, Vivian. This opening range low here. So essentially 10 o'clock this morning candle. That'll be the 20% on the TGIF if we get a big push to the downside. So just use your 10 o'clock low. Mm-hmm. All right, Lute, you have a great weekend. I'm glad you had a good week and a good day trading. We'll catch you next week. For Johan, you'll just keep trying it, keep trying it. You'll eventually have the discipline to hold, and you won't be scared by seeing an impulse in the opposite direction. Just keep back testing and keep checking in every day. You'll get there. LOL gamer, I already called the levels that I wanted. Once we took, first said I thought we would take the New York I'm sorry, the London high. We took the London high. Then I pointed out the two levels that we would trade down to, which were essentially swing highs on the way up, and we traded down to both of those as well. So I'm a little reluctant to call out more levels now. But if price does want to continue pushing lower, then I have identified the opening range low, which was the 10 o'clock low, as potentially where liquidity lies and where price will want to trade to today. We've already traded to that position once today, so it may not want to trade back down there again. But if it does, yeah, around the 404, this level right here is where I think it would push to. It wants to keep pushing lower. If we keep pushing down, then I would just start checking off these levels I have. First one would be 548. Following that, I would take it down to the lunch open. So lunch open is 456, right? And you just continue to check down. So essentially what you want to look at is if we've been bullish, or so this is essentially we've been bullish all day. So this is the 830 candle. We've been bullish the entire time. So if we're now going to push lower and sustain, like push lower for some time, and what all you want to do is to see where would people put their stop loss. If you were long, stop losses would start going under swing lows. And every time we made a new high, traded lower, and then made a new high above this one, you put your stop here. We retrace, traded higher, eclipse this high. So then your stop would go essentially where the protected low is. So if you're following market structure, if this is our protected low, you put your stop below that. Price traded, retraced again, traded higher, closed higher than this one. So now the protected low is here. So people put their stop loss there, and you just keep going. And so as it's working its way down, it's just eating up stop losses that individuals who went long, where they have their stop loss place. And so that's all they're doing is chasing liquidity. So I would put my target on those, just depending on how much you're looking for. Understanding that the lowest of the low is going to be the least likely to be reached. You also want to pay attention to time. That'll be 2:30 in about 10 minutes. And so that'll give you about 90 minutes of high volume trading for the rest of the day. And then it's Friday too. So you never know what happens at 3 o'clock. Sometimes, volume dries up there because you have the big institutions pulling all their orders for the week that they entered in on Monday. So volume will likely dry up in another 45 minutes to an hour or so. So keep that in mind as you're looking for targets. LOL gamer, I think you probably need a little bit more practice on taking these setups, these breaker block setups. It seems like you want me to tell you exactly when to get in, and I think you need a bit more practice before you're really able to trade. I would not encourage you to be jumping into live trades at this point. Mm. Close right on top. Let's see if we get a closure below the next minute and a half. Yeah, Johan, usually it's the opposite. Usually you get cleaner price action in the morning. But so far this afternoon, it has been a lot more straightforward than this morning. Okay. 610. Fair value gap right here was your silver bullet entry. For anyone who trades a silver bullet. That's on the 5 minute. I think on a 1 minute it was even tighter. Nope, about the same. On the other side of 2:30 now. I think I'll stay on until about 3 o'clock today. We'll see. We'll see how price moves until then. I'll leave power hour to all of you. Those equal lows. Retest the midnight open. There it is. All right, now 549 is the next area I've identified as where price may want to trade to on the downside. Okay, so we just hit 50%. Just got an equilibrium retracement. And this is from the lunchtime move, from lunch low all the way to the high that we had around 130. Yep, equilibrium is right at the midnight open. What a coincidence. And you made it up to 610, you in. 5-minute bearish breaker above the high. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's a 5-minute bearish breaker from last Friday. And this is for Bryce. Yes, Bryce is from last Friday. Show you. Yep, from the London Open, so around 245 down to 310 on Friday, August 2nd. Mm. Interesting, El Jefe. You're right about that. Yeah, if we swing up to this high here, that would cause max pain to anyone who was already in a short, and it would cause them likely to self-doubt themselves, and then you could still push price lower with only a handful of people in on the trade. It's just the importance of the low and high of lunch is just like another session high and low. You just look for price to trade to them, since they're usually swing points. It's just a way of target setting if you are biased towards a certain direction. No, don't worry, Brian. If you have a question, make sure you ask it. It's better to ask a question, get your answer, and move on than to sit there wondering. Yeah, let's make sure we get any questions that are still out there answered before the session's over today. So if anyone else has questions, make sure you put in the chat. Throw it in there now. Miss Healthy. 4-hour inverted fair value gap inside of a bullish fair value. Let's see. Say you see an inversion 4-hour inside of current 4-hour. Yep. Yeah, Miss Healthy. That's so that's kind of what the way I'm viewing price right now is that I do see the 4-hour as being bullish, and I see that that is most likely going to propel us higher. But since it is the 4-hour, we're only getting 5 or 6 candles in a day. So with the way that price is moving, it looks like we're in a slight consolidation. I'm not anticipating going higher and challenging any of those highs up in the 19.5s, 19.700s, all of that until next week. So right now we can trade all the way back down to 18,400 and not really violate anything, tap back into the fair value gap and then continue higher. So yeah, I definitely took that into account when I was looking at where I thought price may go, is that I'm not looking for it to invalidate the bullish setup that it looks like the 4-hour is creating. Okay. All right, so it looks like this 1 minute breaker still so far is holding. We have this, looks like 5 minute fair value gap right here. It's not been invalidated yet. Even though it traded above, we still get closures below. Now we do have another 3.5 minutes on this candle, so we'll see what happens in a few minutes. Let's see, you mentioned a 15 minute. Let's take a look at the 15 minute here. All right, so you say 15 minute inversion. Okay. Yep, and the 15 minute inversion. Right. So this started out on the 15 as a bullish fair value gap. However, now that we've traded below, closed below, if we use this as an inversion, it will now push price lower. We're now at consequent encroachment. So let's see how price responds here. Because not only is this consequent encroachment of an inversion fair value gap on the 15, but it is also the 1 minute bearish breaker on the 1 minute. So let's see if all those together pushes price lower. Let me put this on 15 just so we know what we're looking at. So if this is going to, in fact, be an inversion fair value gap, we do not want to see it trade above and reclaim it as a bullish fair value gap. We want to see it stay inside and push lower. If I was going to take the entry price, yes, it would be enough confluence for the entry. Well, it would have been enough confluence for the entry on the fair, on the breaker here, the 1 minute unicorn. Also, the 5 minute carrying over from last week. After the 5 minute was created, or I'm sorry, was, I guess, not necessarily reconfirmed, but once it looked like it was holding and then the 1 minute was created, then yeah, that would have been enough to take the entry. But what it really, the determining factor really is like, where's your exit? Where do you want to go? If you're looking for a 100 point run, then sometimes you're looking for something different. If you're looking for 30 points and an exit, that's a different type of trade setup. So that does influence whether you want to take the setup or not. Okay, so we just tapped into the 1 minute breaker once again. Got in at 6. That was a 608 entry. If somebody took that, And you're already up 30 handles, so you could be exiting if that's all you were looking for. Yep, Anthony, I do. I'm on in the morning at 9:15 and afternoons at 1300. Johan, I know you said you wanted to get in if it came back up to 610, so I was hoping that you saw that and didn't miss your opportunity. All right, we're in the macro now. Let's drop down. And we'll close out our session in about 10 minutes. Just start cleaning up a bit here. All right, let's see if we sweep the low. If we get a sweep of this low to midnight open and we push lower, much lower than that, and get down to around this 550 level, and then we could see things pick up speed a little bit. Still got a ways to get there, but if we're able to make it there, I think we could see things move a little faster. You took 30 points. No, that's perfect, Johan. Through my back testing of breakers, 30 points is about minimum. So some of them only give 30, and then it'll retrace, and others will give 30 the first go around, then it'll retrace back to the breaker second go, and then it'll deliver more. So if you got in on the first go round, you'd watch your entire 30-point gain disappear before having to wait for it a second time. So no, you did a good job. You grab your 30 and get out, and then also you have your weekend coming up. So sometimes it's better to just preserve some mental capital and have a good time. enjoy your weekend and prep for the next week. You're only down $500 on a 250K valuation. Well, you got to get 15K to pass, so you're not down very much. Just hang in there, K Dorsey. Don't get impatient. If you get impatient, then you most likely will make mistakes. Or at least that's what's happened to me. When I get impatient, I rarely can make good trades. I remember that midnight open was a 50% retracement from the lunch leg. So this entire leg from about 12:30 up to 1:30, 50% retracement was the midnight open. We're back down there once again. We tapped it over here, traded back to the breaker one more time. Consequent encroachment of the inversion fair value gap. And now we're down testing the midnight open again. So let's see what happens. $50.25. I just have it as a swing high that we traded through and we never came back to retest. But is it the top of a bullish breaker? Yeah, it is. I would have continued to trade down until we got to the lowest point before taking the breaker. So my breaker would have been here. Trade above, close, trade back down into it, hit 50% and then out. So that was your lunchtime breaker. That was your bullish move out of the 1 minute. But yeah, you could use this one. You can. Yep. You would have got a closure on this candle at 109 and it never came back. So you wouldn't have gotten an entry. Yeah, you wouldn't have gotten an entry so far. You could have taken like a market execution entry, but no retracement entries. All right, so we got a tap of 50% once again on the retracement, and now we're heading for the breaker once again. And it's power hour. So we got just a couple seconds left, and power hour's here. All right, let's see if we have any final questions. Yep. Yeah, Fridays aren't the easiest. The best days to trade on Fridays if you have a red folder news event. Those are good days to trade on Friday, or if you still have like a weekly objective that hasn't been met yet, whether it's a take that previous week's high or low, those kind of things. If those haven't been met, then Fridays can still be good. If all the objectives have been met and it's just trading, then you're basically just building liquidity. So you're right about that, Billy. So we are in power hour and it's on a Friday. So I'm going to leave you all to it. Good luck to everyone still trading this final hour of the week. Again, if the price continues to push lower and you see these lows swept, the TGIS setup should be able to get you down to 404. It's already done that earlier this morning, but we did make a new high this afternoon. So sometimes when you make a new high in the afternoon, on a Friday, you can get a second TGIF setup. It doesn't mean that you will, but if price continues to push lower, then somewhere around the 404, 400 level is where I see price landing. But either way, make sure you are aware of what's happening and are careful trading this afternoon. Don't let time run out on you and you're in the middle of a trade and volume dries up and price stops moving. So just keep that in mind. All right, everyone. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so. It allows you to jump in the chat. Also, you get reminders whenever we go live, as well as you get reminders when we're actually on live sessions, just in case you forget, as well as the calendar where it'll remind you like an hour before that live is coming up. So make sure you do that. And I will catch you all on Monday morning, 9:15. Hopefully you can join. See you then. Take care, everyone.